Face to face for the Newsfirst team. I'm Niresh Eliathambi. Well, this week we've seen some interesting developments with regard to governance and anti-corruption in this country. Today we heard that the Attorney General has filed indictments versus Mr. Namal Rajapaksa. And of course his brother Yoshitha was arrested last Saturday, and of course the Supreme Court has or is sending its judgment with regard to the Local Government Elections Amendment Act to the Speaker. So we await that ruling as well. So things are happening in Sri Lanka. But are they happening fast enough for our impatient population, which has been yearning for system change for quite a few years now? Now, to discuss all this, we have with us on our program this evening Dr. Ajantha Perera, who needs no introduction because she is a very well-known academic and community leader, and also has the distinction of being one of the very few ladies who ran for the presidency some time back. Now, welcome, Dr. Ajantha.
Thank you. So good to be here. Thank you so much.
Right. Dr. Ajantha, let's talk first about the local government elections. Now, we have the Supreme Court judgment, which is, we will probably get to know what it is very soon. And then, of course, it is on to the election itself, which we're expecting in April or May. May at the latest, and of course no one can delay this election because the Supreme Court in a verdict last year was very stern and was basically it made no errors in its judgment, where it very clearly said that the President at the time carried out an unconstitutional exercise in delaying the election, and also the Elections Commission at the time was at fault. So there is no way that the present Election Commission or the government will try to delay this one, and in fact all the indications are that this government is keen to go ahead, and so is the Election Commission. So a refreshing breath of democracy, the third election that we will be having within a period of 6 or 7 months.
It's good. It's really good. I mean, it's giving people an opportunity to say what they want to say through an election. What really basically happens is people are able to say whether they are happy with the present government or whether they are not happy with the present government. And I think that itself is a good indication either for the present government to work harder, make sure that their promises are kept. I think this is very, very important, because I think otherwise everyone becomes lethargic. Everyone believes that they have so much power, they could sit down, they can relax. But in a country where there is bankruptcy, where there is the need for economic growth, it's very important that everybody works totally awake. We need to wake up, we need to make sure that we work hard, and we also need to be vigilant of the fact that people have voted for other governments before, and they have also chased them away when they could not perform. So we now have a country where people are ready to vote but also to chase.
Absolutely. And one thing about this voting in and chasing business, Dr. Ajantha, is that in democracies it's not simply one election. we have several elections by which the government and the people can figure out, the popularity of the governance process which the government in power, the party in power, has been following. So is the cost of living too high? Are the anti-corruption activities going according to the people's wishes? And so on and so forth. So it is when you don't have elections regularly that those in government have this false view that everything's okay, we've got whatever percentage of the population voted for us so many years ago and we have that mandate and therefore it's all hunky-dory. But in fact this is why we have multiple elections. We have the presidential, we have the parliamentary, and then we have provincial councils, which we haven't had for a long time, and the local government elections, and there are other elections like the cooperative societies and so on. So it's very easy to figure out how you're doing. Basically it's a barometer of your performance, and of course if elections are not held you don't get the true picture, and then after a few years when you do have a proper election you might get wiped out.
You'll be too surprised.
Yeah, these are like the you have the O-levels, but before the O-levels you have every
exams.
term you have your exams, and you have mock exams.
Yeah.
You know how you're doing. So this is very important, isn't it?
It is very important, and I think when you really look at the local government system, you're electing councillors, and these councillors, unlike the parliamentarians, are going to be working at the grassroots level, because the problems, the issues, the decision making is very important at the grassroots level. When we really look at the people, we consider people who who are not so good to do with, poor people. I don't like the word poor at all, but people who have a lower income, let's say. Now these people have certain issues, and these issues are very well connected with the councillors. Councillors have the responsibility in decision making, in recognizing who these people are. Because Samurdhi, all the Aswasuma, all these things are linked to giving help to the people whom I generally call them in inverted commas poor people. I don't like the word poor at all anyway. I hate that word in my vocabulary. I don't like that word. So basically, and also if you really look at the health system, everything is linked to the local government. Even the education system is linked. Now even the simple garbage issue is linked to the local government. And corruption is utterly the biggest issue in the local government. Local government is where the corruption is the highest. And if we do not elect people who are good, especially for the present president, he has a huge task in whom he is going to elect at the local government level. He cannot elect the same way he did at the parliament. You cannot bring professors to the local government level. You need to understand people have issues, people have problems, and there's a huge amount of deception and corruption at the local government level. People say they are poor, but most of the time people who say that they are poor are not poor. People say they don't have housing, but I know personally that there are people who own 2-3 houses, but yet in order to get another house from the government, they say they don't have a house. And they live in little, shanty places and pretend that they don't have a house. There's a lot of deception happening. So you need to elect people who have that brain power, who knows exactly how to judge people, who knows exactly how to understand whether a person is rich or poor. And then at the same time, we need to understand there are projects at the local government level. You have road development projects, much of the infrastructure projects are coming at the local government level, and there's a lot of money there. And so it's so easy to cheat. It's so easy to say, I'll build a road, and then eventually you end up with a road that is half done with potholes, I mean, which we see every day on the, every day in the morning when you are traveling, and so basically we have a situation where the councillors will say, my electorate, my area needs toilets, my area needs let's say roads, but eventually do they get done properly? Now comes the time for Mr. Andrakumara Dissanayake, he himself a socialist, has to understand people are going to expect a lot from him at the local government level, because he needs to make sure that he understands the people. As a, coming from a socialist party, he has to show he understands the common man. Up to now he has dealt only with the hierarchies. Up to now the president has only dealt with those who have money. Because he has been going round, in the parliamentary level you are working more on the policy matters, and then so you have international relations, you have the banking sector, you have the industrialists. But now suddenly he has to take a decision at the local level, and local level is the hardest level to work in. And so I hope and I pray for him that he will select the best team for himself, because it's not going to be easy, because corruption is definitely going to be very high at that level.
Now, Dr. Ajantha, now speaking of the corruption at that local level, I mean, it's everywhere, in every little project, and the local government bodies do take care of a vast array of services, as you mentioned, the street lighting, garbage collection, repairing the potholes on roads, repairing broken culverts.
Yes.
And there are community libraries, community centers, all of which need renovations and repairs. They get involved in flood relief. There's so much they do. But let's take a clear example of corruption at the local level, which is the concreting of roads.
Yeah.
Now, what generally happens is there is an industry standard. You pay so many rupees for each square feet. Well, it's the cubic meter of concrete.
Yeah.
Basically, so what happens is the contractor is supposed to lay a layer of concrete which is, let's say, 3 inches. Okay, I'm not a construction expert, but then what usually happens, what often happens is, it's not 3 inches, they do 1.5 inches.
It's a thinner sandwich.
Exactly. And then they bribe the local government technical officer to certify that it is actually 3 inches. And also the width of the road and the length
and the payments,
all that. So then the contractors end up making a fortune, and of course all the officials do as well, and the councillors. So this is just one example of what happens.
Well, basically at the local government level, for the elections, who is going to pay these people? You see, they depend on the contractors to prepare their leaflets. They expect the contractors to hold the meetings. They expect the contractors to give dry rations so that they can please the people to get the votes. This is how it works. I mean, There's nothing to hide about in Sri Lanka. We know very well. It's the contractors, people who will be given the jobs later on are the ones who are going to support the local government candidates. And this is the dirty part of it. And they go and they get the money from those people and they work and they do get elected, because our people, Sri Lankans still have not learned the art of electing people, and so they will elect the person who will give them the dry rations and whatever is possible and tell a huge amount of tons of lies. The weightage of the lies matters a lot, and then eventually they get elected. So this person now is expected to get all the contracts. Every toilet, every road, every payment is going to be given to this particular contractor. Nobody monitors, because whatever the profit the contractor makes is divided among the local authority staff, from the chairman down to the PM.
Absolutely.
The profit gets divided among them, so collectively they are a unity in order to ensure that their secrets are never known. So basically this is the issue that we have, corruption. I would say, to be very frank with you, I was very happy when the municipal councils and the Pradesh Sabhas were not operating, because I know how much corruption there is within it. And the people who do come, they are always out there to make some money. It's very rarely I have seen a councillor who's honest.
But now this time, Dr. Ajantha, won't it be different? These are the first local government elections after the Aragalaya. After, as you said, the government was chased out of office. That was Gotabaya Rajapaksa's regime. And of course in the last parliamentary election 62% voted for the NPP. Now isn't this the sort of environment, the atmosphere where people are going to demand more? They are going to want the local councils to be held to a higher standard as well? Or is it that our people will just fade back into the old system where the local councillors will be able to do whatever they want? Well, what's your take on this?
I have a feeling we still have not made the right move yet in the country. Not that I'm not blaming the president or the prime minister, but we have not been able to get that breakthrough because people wanted a system change. See, what the president needs to understand is the people did not vote him in order to change the minds of the people. No. People didn't vote for him to become like Lord Jesus Christ and change the mindset and say, I am holy now. No, that's not the reason why people voted for the president. People voted for the president to change the behavioral pattern within the society. That's the system change we want. The government must be corrupt free. We need to see those things. Now today, what's the difference? We, traffic offences. If you pay somebody 500 rupees, you're gone. But if you don't pay someone 500 rupees, your license is taken and you have to go to the post office, pay the money for the offence, bring back that whatever the receipt, go to the police again, get your license.
But now that's a very, very good point, Dr. Ajantha, because this system, this whole post office and then running to the police station twice, you have to go to the police station once to get the charge sheet and then you go to the post office, and hopefully it's not before, it's not after 3 o'clock. If it's after 3 o'clock,
gone
you
on a
have
Friday.
to come back the next day. If it's a Friday, you have to come back on Monday. And if it's outstation, or if you're from the Western Province and you've gone on a trip over the weekend, then you have to.
Actually,
so this whole system has been rigged. It has been made to order. Basically, you couldn't have done it any better to make it more corrupt, because the policeman is just simply going to say it's Friday, it's 3:30 now. You
and
won't be able
whatever the
to,
amount they request,
Yes.
people would give, because to be very frank with you, suppose I am driving in Nuwara and I get caught to something, and then suddenly I find myself that I have to come back all the way to Nuwara to get my license. I mean, that gives me a heart attack. I mean, I can't think of it. So basically, what the president is now at the moment thinking, and I don't know how much it will get done, is that digitalization. We need to make sure that all these things can be done through the digital system. You don't have to go to the police station to collect your license. There should be a particular system whereby that I could pay my fine through my bank account. So I don't have to go and wait in the post office queue and hope that it won't be closed. So we need to have systems in place. Thereby, when person does something wrong, that they can be taken to task. And this is very important. I'm not saying when people are drunk and they are driving and the police should not do anything at all. I mean, they must be fined. That must be done, because we want a good society. But we need to have a system in place. And I think today the government is still talking about making people better. Sri Lankans are the hardest people to make better. You can't change them, but you can only change them once you take a stick in your hand and say, you better get on with it or else. Because that's the way to work with Sri Lankans. You have to have systems in place. Now let's look at the education system.
Dr. Ajantha, before we get to the education system, which is an enormous area, enormous, and you are an educator yourself. But before that, we need to take a short commercial break. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Our development era kickstarts from 2002-2005.
If you're off duty, right, you're entitled to do what you want. And Niresh, whether it's pluck coconuts or whether it's scraping the coconuts, they have the freedom to do that.
By having taxes on imports for the food on the poorest of the poor is a big problem.
I think economic inclusion of the rural people is very important to keep the economy going.
Government and state are two things. So time to time we need restructuring. We can't go on. That is the main reason why NPP won.
Face the Nation every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. on TV1.
මේ වසන්තේ මේ ආරාධනය විසේකාර දඟකාර හැඩකාර කුමාරයන්ට සහ කෝල කොමල මනලෝල කුමාරයන්ටයි මේ වසන්තේ සිරස වසන්ත කුමරා සහ කුමරිය ලෙස කිරුළු පළදින්න දැන්ම සැරසෙන්න වයස අවුරුදු 18ත් 25ත් අතර කුමාරයන් සහ කුමාරියන් මෑතකදී ගත් ඡායාරූපයක් සමග පෙබරවාරි 20 වෙනිදාට
Welcome back to Face to Face. We are with Dr. Ajantha Perera. Now, Dr. Ajantha, you want to talk about education, but let's talk about the systems, which are we've got all these hopeless systems which are convoluted. They're purpose built for corruption. Now it's a matter of unraveling them. It's like it's a web of deceit. You have to sort of take the strands out, and then you have to implement whether it's digitalization or some manual method, but you have to simplify things.
Yeah. Now, for example, why I said about the education is, for a family, the most important thing is to put their children to school.
Oh, absolutely.
Before they go to school, they go to preschool, and many of the preschools are geared towards sending the children to a particular school. So now how does it work? Now today the children have been taught to lie. Now we are talking about preparing a good society, but how can we do that when we know from day one people have to run around and lie? If they want to get their child to a school, they have to lie about their deeds. They have to lie about their what do you call this, election, their electoral cards.
Where they are registered.
They have to change their ID address. I mean, they have their bank accounts. They have to do 1,000 things and tell their little child who's only 5 years old, when they are living in Avisavela, to tell the school that they are living in Mount Lavinia. I mean, just imagine the child, for the first time in their life they are going to school, and the mother or the father tell them, Baba, make sure you don't tell them you are from Avisavela, make sure you tell them that you are from Mount Lavinia. I mean, the parents teaching them to lie.
But it's not just the parents, Dr. Ajantha. This is the system. This is the education system, which has groomed and trained our parents to do it this way, because it works.
And then
in this way,
who gives the certificates to say that they are living in a particular area? Is the Grama Sevaka.
Yes.
Who is linked to the local authority councillor. So the local authority councillors are the ones who actually promote this, because they get money. When they help to put a child to a school, they get lakhs of money. Because the parents think, okay, if I manage to put my child to Royal College, or if I put my child to Visakha, and that child I know for sure will grow up to be somebody, out of gratitude they pay them in lakhs. So the corruption is there in the system.
But let me put this thought to you, Dr. Ajantha, that school principals and the boards which actually interview and decide on applications, they are not fools. They are not fooled at all. They know very well, because in Sri Lanka everybody knows everybody. You just need to visit a neighborhood, where the application form gives the address. You can just visit it. You go to the nearby shop and you ask, you have a cup of tea there, and you ask, I'm looking for this person, that person, and you strike up a conversation. You will get all the details. So the schools knowingly, I'm not saying all the schools, but many of the schools knowingly do this. They foster corruption. And then, of course, even if a family meets all these criteria, there is this donation, which is an official donation. It's things like school building societies. I mean, the amount of money collected by these building societies, some of them, it's enough to turn, to build a 50-story skyscraper, not just a school building.
And then comes this situation where people would think, I am born to this country. I am born to a country called Sri Lanka. I don't have a choice. Just born here, and now I have to put my son or daughter to a school, and I have to go through this process of giving money to the Grama Sevaka, giving money to the councillors, giving money even to the school. I have to make sure that, even to the peon, even to get a form, you have to pay the peon.
Especially the office assistant.
And the security guards. I mean, security guards demand more money. So basically what we have is a corrupt, utterly corrupt system. And this is what people are expecting the president to change. People are not expecting the president to change the environment of the school. People are not expecting president to change the education system within inside. That is done fantastically well in this country. We have very educated people here in Sri Lanka. But what people voted the president in is to change the corrupt system. And that's what I want. I mean, this is what I'm longing for the president and the prime minister to change. I mean, especially the prime minister being an academician, just like me, we need to change this. Without changing that, no matter what you do with the year 5 scholarship exams or whatever, it's not going to help this country. We need to change the corrupt system. And parents are suffering today. Parents are suffering. Just imagine that you put your child to a school in Colombo and you don't even know much about Colombo, but you have a deed in Colombo. You pretend that you have lived in Colombo for 5 years and that you have voted for the people in Colombo for 5 years. You have to also know who your MPs are, because you might be knowing the ones in Anuradhapura but not in Colombo. And with all that burden, and whatever the family that has decided to give you their house deed for you to show as their own, they're living for 11 years of their life fear, in utter fear. So when they're on the roadside, for them to commit some mistake and pray a little bit to a police officer or someone, it's not a big deal, because they have already committed a huge crime.
Because generally you have to pay millions now to get into, and it's not just Colombo schools. I mean, whether it's Kandy, Kurunagala, Gampaha, Gaul, Kalutara, all, maybe not all the schools, but most of the schools do this, and government schools, private schools, all of them. So this is, this is a huge cancer. So we need all this rooted out. So the system has to change.
Yep.
But let me ask you, Dr. Ajantha, now we've seen these high-profile individuals, including former ministers, being arrested or charged, indicted, and so on, for corruption-related crimes. Will that serve as an example to the people? And
what was that?
How willing are our people to take the example of these high-profile individuals being arrested and charged? Will that convince our people to change their ways?
No, it will not. Because you see, the thing is, people wanted, especially the president, to be able to get the money back. You see, what we wanted from Rajapakshas was not to put them in behind bars. I mean, that's not a big deal. You can put anybody behind bars, but we need to regain that money. Now, there was money that was said in Africa. There is money supposed to be all over the world. Seychelles, they are supposed to be owning an island. There are these rumors all over. So what the present government should do is, why people gave them a highest power, giving them the majority to their hand, was for them to be able to get the money back, because we need it back. I mean, this is how we work with the corruption. I mean, legal system also has to help with working with that. What is the most important thing is money, because what we lost through those people, those politicians, was the money. I mean, at the end of the day, it's billions. It's billions of dollars. It's not billions of rupees. It's billions of dollars.
It's trillions of rupees.
Trillions. So we need to do that. And I think if the president wants respect, if the president wants people to consider him as a true leader, it's time that he starts to understand why people voted him in. It's not for dramas. It's not for today to see someone being put behind bars and tomorrow to be bailed out. You know, those things were done as a drama during the Aragale. You know, people went in, people came out, and we were clapping and we were hooting. You know, those things happened, and we did that, and we were not presidents. But he is the president of Sri Lanka, and he has been given that huge task to make sure whatever the bribery and corruption that happened in the parliament, get that money back. Because once he set that in place, people will respect him. Bribery and corruption will come to an end slowly, not immediately, but will come to an end slowly as the system is put in place. So I would suggest to the president right now, I don't know, I don't trust his team. I'm very sorry to say this. I think he has a very weak team, and he doesn't have many people who have backbone. So he needs to call even people like us to come and help him out. Time has come for him to give up his pride. I mean, I can understand he's a young person, he's much younger than me, and you know, he takes pride in having been elected as the president, and I can understand that. You know, he got so much of majority and he's so popular. I mean, that's all fine. But if he wants to keep that respect, he needs to have a good team, and I think he needs to work harder. We are not going fast enough, we are not doing well yet, and I feel sorry for him for the local government election. I don't think they'll get a good majority in the local government election.
So they got 62% at the last election, the general election. You don't think they'll get 62 this time?
No, I would predict it will come down to very much lower, as somewhere in the 40s, maybe 45%, because I think people also want to give him a little bit of a shock, and people are monitoring him. You see, Aragalya taught people how to monitor. Aragalya taught people how to take a distance and keep an eye on things. And that's what people are doing. People are not stupid. People are watching him. People are watching. There are people, you know, who come for these, what do you call these rallies? And especially women. They come and sit right in the front. And for everything that the president or the prime minister or any minister says, they giggle. And that's not an indication that things are going fine. We need to understand as politicians that people giggle even for the good things and the bad things. I mean, you know, and then they, once they are leaving the place, they are saying also some bad things and walking out. So don't go by what the people say. People are not saying the correct thing, but the most important thing is a system. System must be in place, and we need to get back the money. Money matters to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, we need money because we have a huge budget and a budget deficit, you know, and even if other countries give us money right now, whether it be China or Adani from India, whatever they give us, we need to give it back. That becomes a loan, and we can't be burdening people again and again with loans. So with a lot of love, I'm telling this government, you know, because I know them and they are no strangers to me. I also contested from a socialist party for the presidency, and I have socialist blood in me. You know, you need to perform. You need to take this job that is given by people to you very seriously, because people don't want to be disappointed. People love you. I have no doubt about it. People love Andrukumara Disanayake. People love Harini Amarasuriya. There's no doubt about it. But comes the but is the problem. But if you cannot perform, if you cannot get back the money we lost unnecessarily, the local government election is going to be a hard, you know, a thing to experience for you. And not only that, over many years people will get frustrated, because people are now used to corruption. To end corruption, for a clean Sri Lanka, to end corruption, people are watching the top. They are watching the top to see how well they are doing. You know, people always want to watch the people on top to see, are they really committed to the promises that they made? You know, people get very quickly hurt by lies. I mean, you and I, we both know that. You know, when somebody lied to us, we get hurt a lot. And especially with all the promises made, the flowery Pohosat Ratak, rich country, you know, the picture they drew, it's a fantastic thing, but they need to work extremely hard.
Now, Dr. Ajantha, this local government election is going to bring in 25% women councillors. What's that going to do? Because there is a school of thought that women are less corrupt than men. Maybe not all over the world, but certainly in Sri Lanka. So let's say you get the 25% representation of women in the municipal councils, the Pradesh Sabhas, the urban councils. What is that going to do for the governance, the day-to-day running of things, the running of a council meeting where suddenly you've got 20 councillors but 5 or more are women now, and they hopefully will not be somebody's sister or somebody's wife or somebody's daughter. They will be recognized figures in the community. What is that going to actually do?
Actually, it's not about being a woman. You know, in my life I have never thought so much of the fact that I am a woman. I think it's
that
about
you are one of the 4 ladies who have run for the presidency in all our history since the executive presidency came in, and you are the only one who is not connected to a political party.
Yeah, that's very true.
A political family, rather.
Yeah,
yes.
political family. Basically, I think it's very important is not the fact that they are women, but they must have a system of how they work. They need to be able to work with the high technology. They need to be able to understand how the system actually works. They need to be very honest in their dealings. When I say honest, that they cannot be approached very easily. Another thing is there should be a certain amount of education there, because when they go and talk to a principal or when they go and talk to a business person, they should have that personality and they should have that education background for them to be accepted. They should not be feeling that they are going out to a businessman to get money, but rather they must be going to a businessman to start a new business venture for the area where they are actually residing or which is under their control. You see, the mindset should change. We are living in a country which needs economic development. We need to bring women or men who understand economics. We need to understand for every 5 rupees that we invest in something, we get 10 rupees back. We can't be a losing nation. And so I think when the politicians, this time the political parties, when they are electing people to be the candidates, it's very important that they look at their education qualification. I'm not saying PhDs, many of the PhDs can't work because they are theoretically they are very good, but when it comes to practicality, most of the PhDs fail. Because they don't have that experience. So they should have a certain amount of qualification, but they should have hands-on experience. They must be coming either from the business sector, they must be coming even from NGOs, they must be people who have worked among people, who understand what the system is and what the local government councillor is expected to do. They must be given a TOR, terms of reference, as to what they should be getting, and they should never be people who are people pleasers. If you send a group of people to the local government who are people pleasers, that means going to every funeral house, going to every dane, going to every whatever the little functions that are happening among the community. I've seen councillors, they go to the funeral house and they spend the whole night there drinking. Why? They believe that will get them votes. I mean, it's rubbish. That time has to come to an end. We can't be, having councillors going around looking for funeral houses. I mean, there are some who do that just to get some votes. So that culture must change, and we need people educated, who has literacy on computers, who knows how to go into the internet, look at a website, how to get the information from there, how to develop a website, how to enter their whatever the data they have into the website. This is the kind of people we need. Someone who is able to stand up on their own and do the work, and someone very specifically who knows how to run a business. That's very important, because otherwise there won't be any economic growth at the local government level.
So let's hope that your advice is followed, and let's hope for a revolution at the local government level once we have the election declared. I'm afraid we are out of time. Dr. Ajantha, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you very
so much. So precious.
And thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away, because the news is coming up next. Have a good evening.